start chapter 13 and 14. Are we doing chapter?
I did something bad. I clicked something. Okay.
Are we doing chapter 13 first and then 14 later?
Yeah,
Okay,
13
let's do
first.
that. All right, so it's broken down into three pages, three slides. Do that first.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. You guys want to go with one slide each?
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Who goes first? I go first. An oracle concerning Babylon that Isaiah son of Amos saw. Raise a banner on a bare hilltop. Shout to them. Beckon to them to enter the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my holy ones. I have summoned my warriors to carry out my wrath, those who rejoice in my triumph. Listen, a noise on the mountains like that of a great multitude. Listen, an uproar among the kingdoms like nations massing together. The Lord Almighty is mustering an army for war. They come from far away lands, from the ends of the heavens, the Lord and the weapons of his wrath to destroy the whole country. Wail, for the day of the Lord is near. It will come like destruction from the Almighty. Because of this, all hands will go limp. Every man's heart will melt. Terror will seize them. Pain and anguish will grip them. They will writhe like a woman in labor. They will look aghast at each other, their faces aflame. See, the day of the Lord is coming, a cruel day with wrath and fierce anger to make the land desolate and destroy the sinners within it. The stars of heaven and their constellations will not show their light. The rising sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light.
Why is that feedback?
No. It's not.
I will punish the world for its evil, the wicked for their sins. I will put an end to the arrogance of the haughty and will humble the pride of the ruthless. I will make man scarcer than pure gold, more rare than the gold of Ophir. Therefore I will make the heavens tremble and the earth will shake from its place at the wrath of the Lord Almighty. In the day of his burning anger. Like a hunted gazelle, like a sheep without a shepherd, each will return to his own people. Each will flee to his native land. Whoever is captured will be thrust through. All who are caught will fall by the sword. Their infants will be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses will be looted and their wives ravished. See, I will stir up against them the Medes, who do not care for silver and have no delight in gold. Their bows will strike down the young men. They will have no mercy on infants, nor will they look with compassion on children.
Why is it not changing?
Babylon, the jewel of kingdoms, the glory of the Babylonians' pride, will be overthrown by God like Sodom and Gomorrah. She will never be inhabited or lived in through all generations. No Arab will pitch his tent there. No shepherd will rest his flocks there. But desert creatures will lie there. Jackals will fill her houses. There the owls will dwell, and there the wild goats will leap about. Hyenas will howl in her strongholds. Jackals in her luxurious places. Her time is at hand, and her days will not be prolonged.
Thank you.
Let's kind of summarize this chapter. What's really happening?
Oh,
It starts off with Babylon, right? And then let's see. Maybe we shouldn't summarize. let's just continue with the
This
question.
is a prophecy again. Prophecy against.
Yeah.
Okay, so the word, the question is down here, so, but we're going through question number 3.
Yeah, I'm still with question
How
number
is the
three.
word burden used in prophecies like this? Against whom did Isaiah see such a burden? So this word burden is actually oracle in my NIV. So
There are different NIV versions. So my NIV version actually uses the word prophecy.
Oh,
yeah,
my NIV is oracle. The ESV says oracle. What does the King James say?
King James says burden.
Burden.
Yeah.
Oh,
so yeah, NIV has undergone a lot of revisions, and
Oh.
depending on who publishes, it has all the different wordings.
yeah.
Anyways, so here are the questions about this oracle. Any thoughts?
How is the word used?
How's the word burden used?
I think it's a burden because it's like it's a word against them, especially for what's going to happen to Babylon. Like Babylon, it's against them. Yeah, so I feel it's a burden.
It's something serious
Yeah,
and like as in a grave and negative, like something bad is gonna happen to them.
Heavily weighs against them, right? So
yeah.
burden.
Hmm.
Okay. Next question. Number 4. How does God describe those who would come against Babylon?
Verse 3 to 5.
They are the sanctified ones.
Yeah, what would you do?
And then it describes the people, or like a large group of people, a multitude of great people, and then they'll be coming with a lot of noises, making a lot of noises.
Yeah.
So it's like an army. Is it like an army coming against Babylon?
Mm.
God is raising an army against Babylon.
But it's not just, is it just one? I mean, because it says they come from far away lands, from the ends of the heavens, right?
Hmm.
Verse 5.
Is it like also like the heavenly army?
Is it
And also I thought that he uses he uses the Medes, right, to destroy Babylon.
Hmm.
The Medes is the Persians.
Yeah, I thought that was later part. Because I think here in verse 3, because commanded my holy ones, and so Medes I don't necessarily relate
Oh
to
yeah, they are not his
holy
own.
ones. Yeah, they're usually pagans. But here, because it says holy ones, we can think of it either as, okay, all the chapters before this was describing how the Israel and Judah will be punished, and then only the remnants will be around. And so either these remnants will somehow have so much power in the end, and they're going to overtake and punish Babylon altogether, or it's like you said, it's like heavenly army coming down with the Lord himself or something in power with them, and then carrying out the judgment in the end.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Because there's a commentary in this NIV book that says that for the holy ones, the people that God have prepared for war. I mean, it doesn't have to be like God uses people of the world to. I read somewhere in the commentary where he says that he uses people of the world to accomplish his purposes. And although these people do not know that they are being used by God, and it's to also show God's sovereignty throughout the whole world, that he could use anyone he wants to, even though they do not know they are under God's. I mean, it's part of God's plan. So this commentary says the reference is probably to the Persians under Cyrus the Great, where the Lord calls Assyria the rod of my anger. Yeah.
yeah, there are many interpretations regarding this.
Yeah. So there's various okay.
Yeah, so in a very loose sense, if you say, yeah, whatever that's used by God is holy, then yeah, even the unbelieving people can be part of that.
Barnes notes also,
Yeah.
this is to the Medes and Persians. Not called sanctified because they were holy, but because they were set apart by the divine intervention and purpose to accomplish this.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna have like probably open-ended way of interpreting this because we see a duality once again of some immediate prophecy that were fulfilled in centuries after prophecy here, or like how it's going to be fulfilled when Jesus returns the second time. So there's a duality playing here. And so yeah, we'll see that more and more.
When it comes to day of
Yeah. Okay, so
question 5. How would the people be affected when they see this in verse 6 to 8? And note the significance of the day of the Lord. How would the people be affected? So from verse 6 to 8, they will cry because the way is this wail, right? And then hands go limp and hearts will melt. So fear and terror and pain.
Terrible destruction.
Yeah, we're discussing the phrase that in verse 8 that says they will look aghast at each other, their faces aflame. And we're wondering what that means. Like, what does it mean by look aghast at each other? Like,
Is it
Yeah.
like, because if the face is aflame means like it's being burned, right?
yeah, maybe.
Then it's like if you see someone burning, you'll be like,
Oh, we are all burning.
that's
Yeah.
actually quite terrible.
yeah,
I mean, the imagination of it is just so terrible. It's like you're all burning, there's no one to help pull out the fire.
Hmm,
And it's so painful. Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And the day of the Lord. Day of the Lord. Verse 6.
yeah, the significance of the day of the Lord.
And then verse 9, it talks about day of the Lord again.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like this is where a clear reference to the duality where it'll be the time when Jesus come, right? Literally. I felt that verse.
This is the near and the far
Yeah,
again.
near prophecy and the future prophecy.
Yeah, it's it's something coming like a destruction from the Almighty. So we can see it's like divine intervention, right? People will know that it's very miraculous. God is definitely involved. And so like throughout Old Testament and even in New Testament, there's reference to writhing like a woman in labor. And so if this world is laboring and then intensity and frequency become increasing toward the very, very end until the day of the Lord, what baby is being born, right? At the end of that laboring is all nations, all nations coming to know the Lord, right? So until then, there will be a lot of wars, pagan nations surrounding Israel and trying to crush them. But then in the end, all the enemies will be wiped out. And so this is one of the day of the Lord, where all the enemies will be destroyed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so question 6.
Yeah. 6.
How is the punishment described in verse 9 to 12? Note the expressions in verse 10 regarding stars of the heaven, etc. Are these literal or symbolic? And where else is such language used?
Yeah.
I think in one of the references mentioned that the language will be used in Matthew Can't remember the reference. Is it 29:15 or what? I can't remember.
Uh,
But it would be whatever Matthew is saying, where the stars of heaven and the constellations will not show their light, the rising sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light.
Matthew
Mm.
24.
24, is it? Yeah. So the punishment is really a divine punishment, and it's on like the whole world. It's literally on the whole earth, because God is going to punish the world for its evil and the wicked for their sins, as written in verse 11. And he wants to put an end to the arrogance of the haughty, and he wants to humble the pride of the ruthless. So to me, I read it as this is really a literal, at the time where of second coming of Jesus, this will be literal. But before the coming of Jesus, I felt that it could be symbolic in how God might punish certain people, or rather the people who do not turn to him or trust in him, but continue to do evil.
Yeah, we were discussing and then read up on a lot of commentaries on verse 10.
Mm.
And then majority of the commentaries were this is only it's not literal, it's what is it? Figurative.
Most of the commentary seems to suggest that it's
Figurative.
metaphorical and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
what do you think?
But I thought this is quite similar to some of the revelations and seals and trumpets, and this occurred. There was a lot of smoke. Hide the light reaching the earth, and we cannot see the light. So this is kind of shed some light into understanding this prophecy, because in Noah's day, when the flood came, only 8 people survived at the end of it. God used water to wipe the earth. And then the second time he punishes, we know that he's going to use fire, right? Not water again, but fire to punish the world. And so here, when the fire comes, there obviously going to be a lot of smoke. And therefore, I think verse 10 can be fulfilled in that manner. So I thought it was really scary that God mentions it right here.
One of the commentaries also mentioned that like when God is angry, the light of this is in pulpit commentary, when God is angry, the light of the heavens grow dark. So it was at the crucifixion of Christ, because remember when Jesus was crucified, there was a period of time when darkness came over everywhere, right? So and so also at the end of the world in Matthew 24. So
I think I learned before, when for science, actually the only source of light is the sun, and all other planets or stars we see are just they're just reflecting off the sun, because the planet itself does not glow by itself. It's all reflecting off the sun. So actually God just needs to turn off the sun.
Yeah.
Other stars are also suns, right?
No, there's only one sun in the known universe that we are in. Right? They haven't found another sun or source of light, like something that gives out light. The stars are not. It's just just like the moon is bright at night because it reflects the sun.
But stars are much further away.
But the sun can reach them, the source. The light is from the sun. Stars themselves don't give out light. Just like Earth don't give out light by ourselves.
I think there are some theories that there are some stars out there, very rare, but
they're like sun.
Like sun. But who knows, right? Nobody knows.
Yeah, true. Cosmic darkness.
Yes.
Very
Okay, question 7. How is this event? Oh, sorry, are we done with this?
I think so.
Okay, question 7. How is this event described in verse 13? Where else is similar language used? And how does verse 14 describe the effect on people? Verse 13.
Right. Earthquake.
I think this
Amen.
goes back to what Jesus said in Matthew 24, right? But just, disciples were asking, what are the signs, right, of the end times, and all these were mentioned, but even like heavens will tremble.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's like storm, is it? When the heavens is trembling.
Um,
Thunderstorms and earthquakes are often accompanied by the powerful presence of the Lord.
yeah,
Some
heaven,
say that hail may even also be involved, like raining hail.
yeah. And when Jesus quoted this, he also said that people will faint because, the authority, what is it? 하늘의 권능이 흔들린다. Like the authority of the heavens will be shaken.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Other verses that talk about similar language, like Hebrews 12:26 says, once more I will shake not only the earth but also the heavens. In Haggai 2:6 it says, "This is what the Lord Almighty says, in a little while I will once more shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land." Hmm.
So in Revelation, it's like chapter 6, verse 12. It says that there was a great earthquake and the sun became black as sackcloth. The full moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth as a fig tree shed its winter fruit when shaken by a gale.
This
That's
Revelation
Revelation, the sixth seal.
6.
When he opened the sixth seal, chapter 6, verse 12.
Chapter 6 verse 12. Revelation chapter 16 verse 18 also has then there came flashes of light, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a severe earthquake. No earthquake like it has ever occurred since mankind has been on earth. So tremendous was the quake.
So it's like the recent earthquake is like we're following this Amir Sapati guy, he's like saying that there's like, don't know, there's a lot of earthquakes, the big one and the small ones, and the big one and the small ones.
Oh, you mean the recent ones?
The recent earthquake, yeah. It's in I don't think it has been recorded that it has been so many earthquakes throughout like 2 weeks kind of thing.
Maybe more than 3 weeks.
More than 3 weeks, yeah. I think we just have to monitor. Like I just read last week that Hokkaido also have an earthquake of 6.1, but it didn't affect anybody in Hokkaido. So I'm praying that next, like from the 11th to the 17th, I'm bringing Asing to Hokkaido to snowboard, right? I'm just praying that nothing happens when we are there, and that we protected.
Scary.
So yeah, verse 13 is about the wrath of the Lord Almighty.
Yeah.
But verse 14 leads to, I don't know.
How does it describe the effect on the people? Fleeing to their native land.
What do you comment?
They don't have any more business to do, right? So they
Yeah,
just
it will go back home.
came home. Yeah. Yeah, I think the land is so desolate. Like they I don't know, they need to find comfort somewhere.
Yeah.
So question 8, will the people suffer? Verse 15 and 16.
Destruction to the fullest degree, all the way.
Children shall be wiped out.
Dashed to pieces. House will be looted and their wives ravished. Ravish means like,
Rape.
is it like being raped or what?
Taken away.
Taken away. This sounds like the Japanese occupation that we know from day one of life. Like they always say, like, oh, you know, the Japanese soldiers are very cruel. They will put their sword out and then throw the children into the sky and stick the babies through the sword.
Yeah. At first when I read it, I also asked Aquila, like, this sounds very like barbaric and like yeah, but I think maybe God is punishing them the way that they had like these Babylonians had also in the past treated people, conquered other lands in the same way and treat people that way too.
Yeah, so
I think in war, I think in all wars, even like the Ukraine war, they say that Ukrainian women also being raped, right, by the Russian soldiers.
oh really?
Yeah. It's just that all these are not out there in the news because maybe people find it too offensive now to report truth like that.
So when I first read verse 16, I was shocked because like, wait, I thought God was saying in verse 3, the holy ones, and how the holy ones go and ravage, wives. And
That's true.
yeah, so it was like I was relieved when I read verse 17, right? See, I will stir up against them the Medes. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So maybe Medes are gonna do this act, right? And that's
So it
how I
makes sense that
compromise.
so it makes sense that the reference to the holy ones, the sanctified ones, would be to the Medes, right?
So I think there are two the way I interpret, I'll share it in a while, but let's read the question number 9 first.
Okay.
So whom will God use to bring this judgment on Babylon, right? So that's including verse 17 and 18. What kind of people will they be? So I kind of went ahead and okay, who are the present day Medes? And so when I typed it up on Google, and this is what pops up, and toward the end, this is what it said: present day Azerbaijan, Iranian, and Kurdistan in Western Tabaristan. So it basically includes the Kurds. Okay, so the Kurds are right now they're hated by all the Arab nations. They're the ones who lost their country and they're not given another land to occupy. So they're like roaming around in different parts of the place. So Turkish and Iranian especially hate the Kurds so much that Turkey basically waged the war against them, saying that, hey, we're gonna use our tanks and all the military units to wipe the Kurds out off. Why is this not popping? I don't know how to use the.
What do you want? What do you want?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
okay, so here's an article. Turkey and armed Kurdish groups. This is from the Council of Foreign Relations, but basically, the news recently, if you follow from last year, the Turkey is using the armed units and going into the Iran, Iraq, and Syria, and to annihilate the Kurds. And so Kurds are on a run, and then these three nations, right? Iran, Iraq, and Syria, they're, hey, what are you doing? How can Turkey come into our border, cross the border and come into our land and just to kill the Kurds? You can't do this. But Turkey is like, I don't care. I just want to crush the Turks. So there's that animosity between Kurds and the rest of the Middle Eastern group. So if this is the case, then we can kind of imagine, like in the last days of Babylon was Babylon, if it's represented by the Iraq, Iran, and Syria, they're the majority. They're trying to attack Israel and they came down, but then holy ones overpowered and then crushed all of them. And they're like, oh, well, we kind of lost and we were so scarce. We don't have any shepherds and our generals all died. So they're going back to their homelands. But when they went to home, when they reached their hometown, basically the Kurds who were oppressed and suppressed for centuries and who hate whoever mistreated them, right? So the Kurds will these Medes, right? So the Medes, if they are the Kurds, then Kurds will be, aha, now you Iranian, Syrian, you Iraqis, you guys mistreated us over all these years, and now you guys are decimated. Now it's our turn to ravage you and finish them off. So that's how I kind of read this prophecy playing out as we speak in this modern day. So here I thought that like these Kurds or the Medes, they don't care about money. They have been poor all their lives, all throughout centuries, and they're not plundering. They're not looking to loot these residents, but they just want to afflict revenge on them. Yeah, and so they're really brutally kill off everyone, right?
Yeah. I think these all Arab countries people are really quite brutal one, right? So all these Iranians, Iraqis, Kurds. Because of the civil war that's going on in Syria, right? There's been not just civil war, but there's a war in Syria, and it's all the Middle Eastern countries, and that's where the earthquake strike, right for Turkey and Syria. Yeah, it's affecting. Yeah. It's very hard to not think of the Bible when these things are happening right in front of our eyes now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Number
What
10.
will be the end result to David?
Next page.
Instructions, no more, end. The end.
Buried in ashes, just like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Yeah, gone out of history.
Yeah.
We have to dig it up from the
Yeah.
archaeological perspective.
Yeah. Till today, it's also ruined. It's a ruin. Yeah. So it's the prophecy has been fulfilled.
Do you think it has been?
It has never been inhabited. If you go and Google Babylon, I think they're in this part of Iraq or somewhere. Where's Babylon? Yesterday when I Googled, the modern day Babylon is.
Let's see.
Modern day Babylon includes Iraq, sure.
Yeah, Iraq. Yeah.
Iraq, right? Yeah. And is it inhabited? It's no longer inhabited. It lies in ruins. Yeah. So
The ancient culture lies in ruins, but there are some, Saddam Hussein. Yeah, Saddam Hussein was there.
oh yeah.
And there's also a museum of all these Babylonian cultures where the US went in and took out all the artifacts.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
There's
Saddam Hussein tried to restore the don't know what.
the glory.
Yeah.
So Babylon, the ancient culture and the religious artifacts, they still are pervasive in our culture, because we study a lot, and a lot of occults spring from there. It's like where the Nimrod first built his kingdom to unite all nations.
The Tower of Babel.
Yeah, so a lot of things sprung from there. The sun god and different, yeah. So like the Nimrod's son, Tammuz, that's something that is called the Queen of Heaven or something, and the Lent culture and weeping for it, and winter solstice, is it called? All these culture came from there. So again and again, punishing Babylon and getting rid of everything that belongs to Babylon, it just comes up and again, and even in book of Jonah. And so, yeah, Nineveh was the the capital of Babylon. So if this Babylon prophecy is related to the day of the Lord, with Jesus returning, and then finally everything that belongs to Babylon will be gone. If that's how we understand it, then everything that we know, like cultural artifacts, religious idols, any kind of icons,
like there's
everything will be gone.
So maybe there's a duality here again, right? Like the actual Babylon, the actual kingdom of Babylon is no more, but the cultures and some of the like practices from there might still have like lived on and seeped through to people who carry on. So then that would be like the day of the law, and all of these would be gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Chapter 14.
Okay, this one there are 4 slides, so we can take one each. I'll start, okay? Okay. The Lord will have compassion on Jacob. Once again, he will choose Israel and will settle them in their own land. Aliens will join them and unite with the house of Jacob. Nations will take them and bring them to their own place. And the house of Israel will possess the nations as men servants and maid servants in the Lord's land. They will make captives of their captors and rule over their oppressors. On the day the Lord gives you relief from suffering and turmoil and cruel bondage, you will take up this taunt against the king of Babylon. How the oppressor has come to an end, how his fury has ended. The Lord has broken the rod of the wicked, the scepter of the ruler, which in anger struck down peoples with unceasing blows, and in fury subdued nations with relentless aggression. All the lands are at rest and at peace. They break into singing. Even the pine trees and the cedars of Lebanon exult over you and say, now that you have been made low, no woodsman comes to cut us down.
The grave below is all astir to meet you at your coming. It rouses the spirits of the departed to greet you, all those who were leaders in the world. It makes them rise from their thrones, all those who were kings over the nations. They will all respond. They will say to you, you also have become weak as we are. You have become like us. All your pomp has been brought down to the grave, along with the noise of your harps. Maggots are spread out beneath you, and worms cover you. How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned in the mount of assembly, on the utmost heights of the sacred mountain. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to the grave, to the depth of the pit. Those who see you stare at you. They ponder your fate. Is this the man who shook the earth and made kingdoms tremble?
Who made the world a desert, who overthrew its cities and would not let his captives go home? All the kings of the nations lie in state, each in his own tomb. But you are cast out of your tomb like a rejected branch. You are covered with the slain, with those pierced by the sword, those who descend to the stones of the pit, like a corpse trampled underfoot. You will not join them in burial, for you have destroyed your land and killed your people. The offspring of the wicked will never be mentioned again. Prepare a place to slaughter his sons for the sins of their forefathers. They are not to rise to inherit the land and cover the earth with their cities. I will rise up against them, declares the Lord Almighty. I will cut off from Babylon her name and survivors, her offspring and descendants, declares the Lord. I will turn her into a place for owls and into swampland. I will sweep her with the broom of destruction, declares the Lord Almighty. The Lord Almighty has sworn, surely as I have planned, so it will be, and as I have purposed, so it will stand.
I will crush the Assyrians in my land. On my mountains, I will trample him down. His yoke will be taken from my people, and his burden removed from their shoulders. This is a plan determined for the whole world. This is a hand stretched out over all nations. For the Lord Almighty has purposed, and who can thwart him? His hand is stretched out, and who can turn it back? This oracle came in the year King Ahaz died. Do not rejoice, all you Philistines, that the rod that struck you is broken. From the root of that snake will spring up a viper. Its fruit will be a darting, venomous serpent. The poorest of the poor will find pasture, and the needy will lie down in safety. But your roots I will destroy by famine. It will slay your survivors. Wail, O gate, howl, O city, melt away, all your Philistines. A cloud of smoke comes from the north, and there is not a straggler in its ranks. What answer shall be given to the envoys of that nation? The Lord has established Zion, and in her his afflicted people will find refuge. Yay!
Hmm.
Okay, so question 1. What did God promise would happen to Israel?
He will choose Israel because they have compassion on Israel, and they will settle in their own land. And aliens will join them and unite under the house of Jacob. Nations will take, yeah.
So this one, it says that Israel will possess the nations as men servants and maid servants in the Lord's land. And this hasn't happened yet, right? And most of the commentaries that were written were before 1967, when 47, when
48. Is it 48?
48,
Israel.
Israel became a nation. So, yeah, most of the commentaries did not live to see, Israel being formed a nation, and even to this day, we haven't seen Israel making other nations serve them, right? So this is definitely referring to the latter, the duality of this prophecy, where it's going to be fulfilled when towards the very, very end times. Yeah.
Okay, question 2. What would happen to Babylon at that time? Verse 3 to 6. In verse 4, it says that the oppressor has come to an end.
Hmm.
Oh, so there will be some peace, is it, during that time?
Yeah.
Babylon is going to be destroyed.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Not in power anymore. No more suffering caused by Babylon.
Yeah. The kings will no longer rule over anyone.
Hmm.
Yeah. So to Isaac's point, well, actually that moves on us to the next question. How would other people react when Babylon fell? In verse 7 and 8.
Oh.
It says all the lands are at rest and at peace. They break the and even the trees. Yeah, so I was wondering like, what is the significance about like even the trees are rejoicing and all that. So I went to
No movement.
look at the Bible commentary, and it says that like like when they try to build the kingdom, right? When like countries like the invaders try to build their kingdoms, Well, okay, so when they attack other countries, they usually cut down all the trees so that it's no longer fruitful, the land is no longer fruitful. And also they can use those trees and everything to build their own palaces or to build their own military weapon or something. So now that Babylon fell, then this will not happen.
Even the trees are happy.
Ah, people are trees are
Yeah.
I mean, okay, question 4. Next page. Okay, special assignment. Explain the reaction of people in Sheol, which is death, to the downfall of Babylon in verse 9 to 11. What impresses you as being ironic here?
So
much-
it's like
Yeah.
it's like the Sheol is hell, and like all the previous kings and leaders of the world who do not believe in God all went there. And the king of Babylon, when he goes down, they will actually say to him, like, you also have become weak as we are, as you have become like us. And like all your pride has been brought down to the grave along with the noise of your harps. And maggots are spread out beneath you and worms cover you. So it's like the irony is that all these kings also don't believe in God, right? And all they are there because also of their downfall, and the king of Babylon is joining them. Yeah. I felt that the irony is that this is hell, and it's like hell is welcoming people to hell. It's like, I think this is how dark it is when you're suffering, right? You want people to suffer with you. Like you want more and more people to come and burn with you in hell.
And I think more than that, right, is like these leaders who are in, like these people who are in hell, like it says in verse 9, all those who were leaders in the world, right? So I think it's also those countries that Babylon had attacked in the past and killed their kings and leaders. So the irony is that, they were killed by the Babylonian king. And then now the Babylonian king himself has fallen and joined them in hell. Yeah.
It's not a pretty place, hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody try to like the world, and if you look at, I feel that lots of Netflix and whatever try to make hell looks like a happy merry-go-round place without discipline, which everybody loves. You know, and they make it like a place where people can unite together and drink and make merry, but that's not a true depiction of hell. And I feel that it's a very diverse place to let people think that, you know, it's like, what was that? When Turkey was having the earthquake, Isaac says that the Grammy Awards.
The music awards.
Yeah, started with like people coming out dressed as devil and like singing. Sam Smith, is it?
Sam Smith.
Dressed as the devil, and then the images behind is all like fire burning, and they're like singing, and you know.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
good that we're aware of this kind of subtle messages.
Yeah.
Okay, question 5. What would cause the downfall of Lucifer in verse 12 to 15?
His pride.
Yeah. Right, because he said in verse 14, he says, I will stand above the top of the class, I'll make myself like the Most High. Yeah.
Actually, I went to Google what is Lucifer, like the name Lucifer. It's actually saying, it's literally just saying that it's a morning star and it's the star that brings light. So actually, it's quite a beautiful thing in itself, right? A star that brings light. But it became a fallen star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also actually morning star in verse 12, it's a reference to Jesus. Jesus is called the morning star also, like
Revelation.
yeah. 14, 12.
It's been shining one, light bearer. Just like Googling like Lucifer meaning It says, according to the King James Bible, the original Hebrew word means shining one, light bearer.
Mm.
Yeah.
Usually the occultists, they would call Venus the
Oh
sun
yeah.
star, and because it travels in such a way, it goes back and forth and back and forth, and if you draw this passage, then it becomes the star, right? And so that's why the Satanists put a circle and a star inside, and that's how they pray to the devil.
Oh yeah. It's a star and a circle.
Yeah. So that's
The
a symbol.
Satan's satanic sign.
Why is it?
If you look at it, why is there a circle again?
Why is there
The
circle?
circle, the
Uh,
circle is
Because I think it's because the trajectory of the Earth going around the sun or something like that.
oh
The trajectory of the Venus as it goes around draws the star. So
oh. And then there's a book that says men are from Mars and women are from Venus, right?
mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. So while the true light bearer or the light, God is light, and who showed us the light or led us to God is Jesus. So the true morning star is Jesus, but the Satan himself wanted to become that Jesus figure and be worshipped like God, right? So the devil disguises himself as the angel of light, right? So the reference, the true morning star is Jesus, but here the Lucifer, basically the name comes from this verse and describes the Satan. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay, and then question 6. Some people claim Lucifer refers to Satan. So this passage proves Satan is an angel who fell from heaven. What does the context show about this? It tells us to look at 14:4. Well, we have to go back to 14:4 and 13:1.
13:1.
13:1. So an oracle concerning Babylon. So chapter 13 and 14 are talking about the prophecy against Babylon. And then the next 14:4. 14:4, you will take up this taunt against the king of Babylon. So here, I think what the question is trying to tell us that here the Lucifer or the morning star is not really an actual reference to Satan, but to Babylon. Yeah. I mean, we could think about it as like duality or like even like whatever trial, because if you think about Jesus as the true one, and then Babylon and then Satan.
Yeah, because in the recent I think the BSS study, we also learned like there's this Babylonian guys who came and that was the Assyrians, sorry, not the Babylonian. Yeah, so it's everybody. I feel that a lot of people with a lot of pride and they rule the world, they think that they are God themselves. Or they think that they're higher than God. Just like, I'll make myself like the most high. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds.
Yeah.
It's very prideful words.
Yeah, because in the past, in those days, right, the Babylonian Empire was the greatest empire, right? So like he would have been like that morning star, he would have been like the most glorious king on earth.
Yeah, like I will ascend to heaven. I think it's the Babylonians' obsession to ascend to heaven. They were the one who made the Tower of Babel, right? That's Babylonians' very first part.
Yeah, and because God, right? That was like when they were challenging God, because prior to that, what happened was Noah's flood.
Yeah.
You want to explain? Prior to that, what happened was Noah's flood, and so the people who survived decided that we don't want that to ever happen again. So we built this really big tower so that even if you have a flood, it wouldn't reach the top of the tower. So they were trying to challenge God And of course, like we know what happened to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like it's really startling to think that the descendants of the Noah's sons, right?
Yeah.
It was them who didn't, even though they survived, they were rebelling. I mean, their descendants were quickly turning around. But here, Babylon apparently is not Lucifer. I mean, it's kind of a symbolic thing, but if there is a duality here and that this Babylonian figure or Luciferian figure comes appear in this world stage, I think this can be maybe referring to the Antichrist, maybe, because he will be worshipped as the god of the entire world, right? If you don't swear the allegiance to following me and take upon my, the number of the beast and things, then you will be beheaded. So I think he will eventually, right? His pomp will be brought low, and the way that Antichrist is captured or die is that he will be thrown into hell alive, right? So Jesus comes and just capture him alive and then throw him into hell alive. So that's in Revelation. So here, the verses leading up to the, in the Sheol, people are like, what? You don't even have grave, and you also fell, but you're not even buried, and I think it could be that it's referring to the fall of the Antichrist. So, because after all, like the morning star Lucifer wanted to have his own son, like the Son of God, imitating Jesus. He bears his own son, and then when that Antichrist comes and terrorize the entire world and persecute the holy ones, I think the world will also be startled. Well, I didn't know you can be brought low, but you came to hell, and look at you, look at how you came down. So, yeah, that's my interpretation of this case study.
Question 7. What will people ask when they see his downfall? In verse 16 and 17. Ponder your faith.
This is the man who shook the earth and made kingdoms tremble, the man who made the world a desert and overthrew its cities and would not let its captives go home. Yeah.
Right now he has come to join them. Okay.
Right.
And basically like trying to say that he has no power anymore. He used to be all that thing, but now he is suffering the judgment and the consequence.
Yeah.
I feel like it's also very sarcastic.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the Pharisees who told Jesus, like, go and save yourself. Or like when he was being captured and it's going to be hanged, right? Then they were like, I mean, not hanged, but crucified, but they were like, oh, if you can bring down the temple, he cannot even save his own self, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So it's 180 degrees change from what the Babylonian king used to.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Okay, question 8. How did his burial differ from that of his ancestors and why? Verse 18 to 20.
His corpse will be trembled,
Yeah.
and he will not be buried like his ancestors. I think that's people who do not believe in God. I think that's their greatest fear. Maybe when they die, right, they have no proper burial place and there are no people to send them off or whatever. But this king, even worse. His corpse will be trampled underfoot, which is like literally a super insult and a total disgrace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason is because in verse 20, for you have destroyed your land and killed your people. Yeah. So I guess he was very evil.
Very evil. I think it's very evil. The king's very evil. King is not a nice king.
So there was this king like that, right? People who would say that, oh, this is a antichrist to be like the Caesar Nero, right? In Roman Empire. Yeah, in Roman Empire. He was like he killed his wife and mother and then blamed it, on the Christians and killed off all the Christians, right? Set the whole Rome on fire. Yeah, he was a crazy man. So, yeah, in the end, I don't know how he's remembered, but I think this Luciferian Antichrist is going to be also just as crazy. He will not care for his own people. Yeah, and kill everyone who doesn't follow him.
It's like the war now, right? They send men to go and fight in wars. They're also dying, right? All the Russian men will be conscripted.
When you send your own people to fight, you're killing your own people. You're sending them to be killed.
Yeah.
Question 9. What will God do to Babylon and its king? And why? In verse 21 to 23.
TV.
What?
She's coming, guys. So I guess
God himself is going to rise up against them.
and destroy Babylon.
Destroy
Even,
the children.
Yeah.
even Babylon's name and survivors. Wow.
Yeah, which is true, right? These days there isn't the kingdom of Babylon anymore. I mean, like the name, yeah, and the survivor. Okay.
Yeah.
Try more.
No, but like I think there's still a lot of remainders of the Babylonian culture.
Yeah, but not the name and the survivor.
I think because Revelation also talks about the mystery Babylon. So this Babylon is not a physical Babylon anymore. I think this end time prophecy regarding Babylon, the spiritual adultery. So that name, everything that belongs to the cult, interpretation of the religion to different ways of worshiping gods, they will be all gone in the names. Yeah. Like you read a New Testament Bible and like cults will take it into Kabbalah, right? For instance.
No, okay.
Also, never mind.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll be gone.
So there's nothing left of Babylon, right? Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
So then question 10.
10.
What assurance does God give that all this will happen? Verse 24 to 27. Where God says, surely as I have and purpose, as I have purpose, so it will stand. So what
Does
assurance?
this mean that this Assyria was, I think we read about Assyria before in the chapter. So how I see it is that Assyria attacked Israel, is it? And then they also but God put upon judgment on Assyria as well, so destroyed Assyria. So basically what he's saying is that if God has done it before to Assyria, and he will do it to Babylon.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's how I took it too. That's the assurance. Okay.
So, so there are a lot of prophecies that people regard as unfulfilled to this end, to this date. So Assyrians, if you kind of type like who is the present day Assyria, and I kind of include it here at the bottom, includes like Iraqis, Iranis, and Turkey people, right? So they're not gone yet. They're still there. And some of the Lord's land, like the 12 tribes, they will inherit the land that includes those regions, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. But obviously Israel remains very small. And so by the time Jesus returns and Israel become, power nations, I think the Assyrians here, they will be punished, and they'll surely be gone, nearly gone. And so it's very interesting.
Well, I think I don't know maybe whether there's a duality there, right? But I think that in the past there was the destruction of the Assyrian army at one point. So that could be a reference to the actual factual event that had already happened. Then it could also be taken to mean like a future event. Maybe.
Yeah. So it's possible, but yeah, so that's a duality, right? So that centuries ago, there was some Assyrian was crushed, but modern day Assyria hasn't been crushed, along with the prophecy like Damascus will fall and nobody will inhabit that land forever, right? Because people still live there, Damascus. So if Damascus hasn't fall, some of the prophecy related to that region and Assyrians hasn't been fulfilled yet. So got left this in a very in a dual way to interpret. When this will come to pass. This will come to pass. Yeah.
Okay, so question 11, who is addressed in verse 28 to 32? And what warning does God give in verse 28 and 29?
It's the Philistines,
Hmm.
28 and 29. They shouldn't rejoice because the rock that struck you is broken. So, what does this mean?
So I think what it says is that maybe the Philistines are rejoicing that Babylon will be taken down, or Assyria is taken down, because maybe they were one of the countries that were invaded before. So like God is saying, like don't rejoice too soon, because something bad is also coming to you. Like, yeah. This is from the root of the snake will spring up a viper, and its fruit will be darting. So I want to read up some commentary, and there's some reference to how the root of that snake, basically they are like kings coming from the line of David, like Hezekiah, that will then bring that will then bring them down.
So Philistines, they were known as the worst enemies of Israel, because they are occupying west of Israel and southern regions of Israel. So they're huge land. So out of the Canaanites, Philistines were the strongest. Goliath, right, was also from Philistines. They always had conflict. When Philistines were not attacking Israel, the other threats are described as Babylonians and Assyrians coming. But when these big names like Assyria, Babylon were not attacking, it's always the Philistines bothering them. Okay, so in the past, like Uzziah had a little ding on Philistine, but then some commentators were saying the root of the snake, right? So Uzziah died, but after King Ahaz, his son is Hezekiah, and Hezekiah was one of the regarded honorable king who did the right thing before the Lord, and really like struck Philistine. And so they're interpreting, hey, the viper that sprung up is actually the king Hezekiah, and will do more damage to Philistines. So in the first place, why is Philistine so happy? It's probably because the Assyria is a rivaling nation who can come and destroy Israel, and then Assyria is gone, Babylon's gone, and then Philistine's like, oh, now it's our turn to take over Israel. But maybe that's why there's this timely prophecy against Philistines as well. However, in the view of the duality, it does not make much sense to me. So I interpret it this way. Modern day Philistines are basically the Palestinians. So I wrote them here. Yeah. So the new DNA study prompted yada yada yada, and then they trace it to today's Palestinians. And they're the ones who occupy the West Bank. They're the ones who are, why do we have to give up our land? You know, this is ours. We're not giving it to Israel, and therefore Israel will be small. They're always, you know, shootings are there. The Palestinians are a pain in the butt. So Philistines, like if you trace back all these kings, you know, Uzziah or the Hezekiah, they're the tribe of Judah, right? Because northern Israel and the southern kingdom, Judah. In this context, the kings that inflicted Philistines were all from the tribe of Judah. And the root of that is basically, you know, is the root of David, the kingdom of David. So what will spring from there is the ultimate king will have the authority to crush the Philistines altogether, and that will be obviously Jesus Christ coming back, right? So, why is Jesus described as the venomous serpent? And my interpretation goes, is Jesus ever described as a serpent? And I would say yes, there was a time. Do you know when?
I don't know. I only remember in the Bible passage, he told people to be wise as a serpent, but gentle as a dove.
Oh, okay.
That's the only time I remember.
Okay, but it happened in times of Moses in the wilderness.
The staff.
Yeah. So when Israelites were rebellious, and you know, God told Moses, make the bronze snake in the shape of the fiery or darting venomous serpent, and then put it on the staff, and whoever looks at it will live, right? So Jesus was in the form of this darting venomous serpent, but he did not actually have the venom to kill us. He was actually there to save us, right? He took the shape of that because we are the venomous serpent who are supposed to die. But on behalf of us, Jesus died on that, you know, on that staff, was hung on that staff and took the curse. So Jesus is described as serpent, and when I first heard that, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But you know, Jesus is in fact described as serpent there in that story, and here comes, you know, the real thing, root of that snake, from the real powerful serpent, and that must be Jesus, who bites all the enemies to death. So yeah, that's how I interpret this duality of the prophecy. Yeah.
Okay, last question. What does God say would happen to them in verse 30 to 32? I think they'll be destroyed by famine.
I think they'll be totally destroyed, right?
Mm.
The root, but your root. It will slay your survivors.
Yeah, so there's going to be famine and there's going to be war. What do you think in verse 31 where it says a cloud of smoke comes from north?
Mm. Cloud of smoke. The cloud of smoke is always being referenced to God, right? No, not a cloud of smoke, sorry, it's a cloud. I don't know. The dust, there's a commentary here that says that the dust raised by the marching feet and the chariots of the Assyrians who always invaded Canaan from the north.
Could be simply that Philistines are usually occupying the southern area of Israel, so maybe when Jesus comes and whoever attacks Philistine will probably come from north of them.
Yeah. So in the Bible commentary, there's some reference to like Assyrians. And there's a commentary that says like many interpreters understand it to be Hezekiah. So like basically, yeah, to be Hezekiah. Many interpreters understand the prophet as speaking here of the calamity brought on the Philistines by Hezekiah in the preceding verses, because Judea lay somewhat to the north, but then actually Judea is more to the east than to the north of Palestine. So they think it's more likely that it was the Chaldeans or like Assyrians or Babylons that is meant to be like they'll be attacked. And there is not a straggler in its ranks, meaning like I think the attackers will come in full force. Yeah.
Not a straggler. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Wow.
Where's this famine?
Yeah, famine is most of them. Yeah.
Yeah, famine.
Okay. Okay, finish. Any prayer?
Thank you so much for preparing.
Thank you for doing all the research too on the commentary.
It's fun to read Isaiah actually, because I don't think there's any other book that I really have to refer so much to commentary to understand.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah, I agree. Prayer
Yeah.
request?
Huh?
Prayer request? I know Isaiah has the interview.
Wait, one last thing for verse 30, it says like I will destroy you by famine, and just telling Julia the other day, why famine, you know? And there's some other prophetic books in the Old Testament, when Jesus returns and millennium kingdom starts, they're gonna resume like Passover, and all the nations will have to come and bow down and worship Jesus during the Passover. But if they don't show up, then they're not gonna give rain. No rain for that nation. So basically they will have famine. So I thought it was really kind of interesting.
This is Revelations.
Yeah. No, not Revelation. This is probably, I don't know, Isaiah or Ezekiel or some prophetic book. So it's in Old Testament. So I think it's Ezekiel. So yeah, why famine? I thought that this is, if it's a duality prophecy, then in end times and after Jesus comes, there are nations that are going to suffer serious famine. Yeah.
Okay.
When the end time comes, it's just pure suffering for anyone who don't believe in Christ.
Yeah, that's right.